Hey everybody, it's Bust with Busted Strategies number 40. We're going to jump ourselves into another Midnight Hunt draft challenge and see how it goes. We 6-0'd the last one. We got these 4 draft tokens up here, so I'm hoping we can, do something similar. nobody out here complaining about hitting 6 wins in these things. So we'll see what we can do. Yeah, I thought it was interesting in the last one. I felt like the quality of opponent was a little bit less than we typically see in the premier drafts. Whether or not that's a function of like us just being in mythic and premier or in limited and just playing against other mythic and diamond players, or what the deal is. But that's what it kind of felt like to me in a sense. But okay, interesting little pack here. Nothing, just like out of this world powerful like the last one where we started with Lisa, but there are some, pretty decent cards here. Sun Gold Sentinel and Ambitious Farmhand are the two big winners out of this pack. And I tend to like the Sun Gold Sentinel a little bit more. This exile ability is always relevant, and so if she comes down on turn 2, then great. But if she comes down on, turn 6, there tends to be reasonable targets for the exile. And then the hexproof ability can typically, help close out a game. And so I think that's who we'll be going with here. On the way back, I mean, we're not going to find any like reasonable white cards. This is the kind of space where it would be super sweet to seize the storm tabled, but I really doubt that it will. We could probably be looking to find like an Unblinking Observer, a Brimstone Vandal, maybe even a Hobbling Zombie is the kind of cards coming back out of this. And so I don't think we're going to get any supremely good wheels out of this one. Okay, interesting. Takes a uncommon over Champion of the Perished. That's I'm trying to think of what area that would be. I mean, I would assume it's probably just like a black removal spell, but it could also be something like a Scab Wrangler. Interesting. I would say it's probably most definitely an Esper card, though. But yeah, I mean, I'm more than happy to dive down the path of Champion of the Perished. It doesn't, play ridiculously well in white black, but it still has some combos in there. You can still be generating a handful of zombies in white black, and so it has a place there, and just a fantastic early game play. The thing is, I'd be kind of looking for this pack is if Kessig Naturalist tables. I'm not opposed to drafting werewolves if that's what our day looks to be. And otherwise, if a Candlegrove Witch tables, then we can certainly be looking to kind of main color white here. But this is early enough to where we can just keep our options open. And nothing in these packs was, ridiculously strong to make us want to push one way or another. Okay, and then I mean, why not just take a card from every color, right? there's no white or black cards that I'm particularly interested in here. It's just, I mean, the Cathar Commando is fine. The Seed Zombie and Interloper are both fine as well, depending on what black deck we look to be drafting. But I'm just going to go with the Overwhelmed Archivist here. Regardless of which way our deck goes, if we're in one of the Esper colors, this is going to work out just fine. I mean, it plays well in blue-white. This is one of the better Disturb cards. It plays well in blue-black. Everything can go well with him. And so out of this pack, it's something where we would be looking to perhaps table a Startle. I think the likely card we would ever get back out of this is like Cathar Commando or Vampire Interloper, but we'll see. And yeah, these have been kind of interesting. It's like in the premier drafts, I've really been preaching this strategy of basically like drafting red or green, and then finding a way to piece that into one of the Esper colors, because the Esper colors tend to be like um, really overdrafted in the premier drafts, and it feels like that hasn't been the case here. It seems like people haven't got the memo that Esper is where it's at in these. So, anyways, here, this is kind of an interesting pack. There's an Olivia's Midnight Ambush, which is what I feel to be like the strongest card out of these, but I'm really just looking at this Bait Hook Angler here. If we end up in blue-white, it's going to be fantastic. It plays well in blue-black. I feel like this is just the one that kind of keeps our options open the most here. I'm not hugely big into Geist Wave. I mean, it's really fine in blue-white, but in blue-black, I'm not amped about it, but I think the Bait Hook Angler here is reasonable. It's not the strongest cards that we're ever going to find in these decks, but I think it's going to be reasonable. The Curve Filler can be really brutal in some of these. And okay, so I mean, I kind of get the inkling that blue may be open here. This is a about where I would expect to be getting Revenge of the Drowns. I don't feel like this is too late or too early. And then we do also see the Morning Patrol in here, which it feels like we might be pushing ourselves into Disturb. We have two Disturb units at this point. The Sun Gold Sentinel still plays well in Disturb, even though she doesn't have the ability. And I like seeing the Morning Patrol here. But otherwise, I mean, there's a Festival Crasher. I haven't seen any of the things that want us to be in a Festival Crasher deck. We haven't been seeing any like early stolen vitalities we could look to wheel. And so I think I feel pretty good about where we're starting to land here. It looks like we are starting to find ourselves into being a disturbed deck. So here, happy enough to pick up the Morning Patrol. Again, it's got the ability. It's got Disturb on it. And so it'll happily make the cut here. Then we're beyond the place where we'll get reasonable wheels. I mean, this is a pack where you could be like, oh shit, I just got a last pick Secrets of the Keep. But I don't suspect we'll get any cards on the wheel out of this one. Okay, well, this one doesn't really have anything we're looking for. I'm just going to pick up the Stormrider Spirit out of this. I mean, the other option we do have is to look towards Siege Zombie. There is a world where we could end up in... We probably should just go for it, right? There is a world where we end up in blue-black and not necessarily end up in blue-white. The Champion of the Perished is quite strong. I don't think we're locked into blue-white just yet. Let's pick up the Siege Zombie, because if we roll into next pack and open up, a big blue-black rare, we might actually just consider making the switch over. I don't want to lock ourselves in with these poor white cards that we have. Okay, but beautiful, very easy Geist Wave out of these. The only playable Esper card out of the pack. There's no red-green cards that we're really amped about. Nothing that would want to make a switch, but this is kind of why we talk about wanting to take red-green. Red looks to clearly be open with all of these playable red cards rolling around, but I think the ship has sailed on that in this particular draft. Okay, and then kind of same deal as the Siege Zombie. I'm going to go ahead and take the Crawl from the Cellar. We're not playing white-black. I think that's kind of off the table. If we open up Lisa or something in the second pack, then fine, I'll eat my words. But barring some kind of bomb rare, we're not going to be playing white-black. I think we're going to be base blue in this thing, and if we do end up in blue-black, Crawl from the Cellar will still be a pretty reasonable playable. Hey, the Stolen Vitality for the Festival Crashers. Not happening, but it's there. Ooh, when we table a Startle. Nice. Very, very happy to table Startles. This has no business being an 11th pick. Also with Siege Zombie in here, so I mean, maybe blue-black is just open. We'll have to kind of keep that in mind. Those Siege Zombies have no business rolling through that late. in a 14th pick Cathar Commando. Okay, well that's happening. So, I mean, we do have ourselves interesting problems here. The Sigarda Splendor, I'm really not opposed to playing this. If this thing tables, we'll consider playing it, but it's not something we're going to start with here. The kind of thing is we do need to really kind of be locking in what we're doing. There is, the defense rate in terms of playing blue-black, but I don't feel like we have any of the real blue-black build-around kind of cards. We have the Siege Zombie to close out the game. We do have the Champion of the Perished as a zombie card and Startle as a generator, but we don't have like tons of ways to really take advantage of the go-wide zombie theme. And so with this one, like we did wheel a Startle. I'm going to look to see if we can't wheel one of these blue cards out of here. I'm going to kind of just say we're going full Disturb. Take the Chaplain of Alms, and then see if we can't wheel a Startle or a Gale Rider. Okay, so interesting set. I'm looking at the Beloved Beggar here. There's very kind of like specific decks where I want the Beggar, and I'm not really convinced that we're there yet. It is a pretty good start having Overwhelmed Archivist, but this is a card that we like rarely actually want to play. Like if we're playing against red-black, then sure, we're glad to have a 4 health blocker on the board, but we're really looking for ways to get this out of our hand, whether or not that is through self-mill or through loots with like the Overwhelmed Archivist. It's just not that great on the front side, because once he's down, he's really challenging to get off of the board. But, I mean, it says Disturb on it, and we can maybe table locked in the cemetery here, and so that's what I'm going to go. There's no black cards that make me feel upset about not drafting black up to this point. I feel like we're getting really locked into blue-white. Okay, Falcon Abomination, reasonable pickup. I mean, he's got flying. That's what we're looking for here. Bro's got flying. That's what we want. So that's going to be good. You know, if we're getting 14th pick Cathar Commandos, maybe we'll get a party captain back out of this. But have to wait and see. Bait Hook Angler is a very easy take out of this one. The Silversmiths I'm okay to play with, but we tend to have enough mid to late game stuff to do between just playing Disturbs out of our graveyard. So I'm happy with the Angler. The thing I'm kind of like worried about here, and thing that we're going to need to get under control, is having some interaction. Like if we take a look at our deck here, we pull the black cards out, and then we want to move our spells over a little bit. You know, you don't get real like permanent interaction unless you're picking up Oblivion Rings, but I do want some more of this kind of early game bounce, just kind of a way to come out and deal with one of our opponent's units. But Morning Patrol's fine here. It's you know, pretty strong aggressive unit. Gavany Trapper is a way for us to get some interactivity. We're not missing out on anything passing on these considers. Yeah, I feel pretty good about us being locked into blue-white. We don't have any of like the real like raw power that one would want. You don't have any of the big uncommons or the rares, but we certainly have a serviceable deck coming together here. This will take the party captain. Not a real strong pack. There's the Digraph Horde, which makes us a little upset about not being into black, but I don't feel like we're really missing out. Here's again the the reasons for drafting green-red would be your 8th pick Shadow Beast sightings, but Otherworldly Gaze is quite good in these decks, so happy enough to add it to our stack. Startled number 2, looking beautiful, looking beautiful. Okay, so yeah, I don't really like Secrets of the Key here, and I'm going to go with the party captains. I don't feel like we're really wanting to stack the party captains, but there's a world where those get played. And beautiful, these Cathar Commandos happening so late. All right, we'll take the Jack-o'-lantern. We're probably not going to be splashing anything, but if we're against a Disturbed Mirror or something, we might want to bring that into our main board. Okay, yeah, let's just go ahead and get the black cards out of the main. See where we find ourselves here. Wow, this would be a pack. It's so interesting. We've got lots going on here. We've got an additional Sun Gold Sentinel. Again, this is an extremely powerful unit. There is the Devoted Graphkeeper as a Disturb-based card, and then we have both Organ Hoarder and Falcon Abomination down here as high-quality blue cards. And what we're going to do here, I'm just going to take the Sun Gold Sentinel. I'm not, like, amped about where she stands in our deck at this pace. Like, we don't have any Flare of Faiths. We do have the Startles to make her good, but it can be a little bit more challenging to win combats with Startles. But I think this is where we're going to go. She does function as a, kind of late game removal card. And then hopefully at pick 9, the Graphkeeper will still be there. There is a very common world where these Graphkeepers can wheel. It's tough to be the only blue-white drafter at the table, but it might be something that happens here today. And then with these, we'll take the Lunarch Veteran. This is a very kind of low-quality Disturb unit. It's very fillery, but there's nothing else going on in this pack. The one thing we could consider would be like a Soul Griff Guide. Our curve, currently stops at 4, and we don't have any real top end to speak of, but I think we should still be able to pick up another Griff Guide or pick up a the flyer with Flash. I think we should be able to get something. Okay, Falcon Abomination is good. Fantastically flying unit. Okay, so here, there's an Organ Hoarder. Never mind. It's like I saw the Startle, I saw the Mysterious Tome, and I was like, well, we have 2 Startles. I could see the Tome kind of working in this deck. It wants to be in more of a control deck, but this tap theme can be useful. But no, we got an Organ Hoarder here. Just absolutely fantastic at pick 5. Nothing fantastic about this one, though. None of these cards are going to make the cut. We'll take another Morning Patrol. It's the most likely of any of these blue cards to make it, but the highs and the lows, but Falcon Abomination's great. Ooh, and interesting. The Flare of Faith versus the Bait-Hook Angler. I think I'm like leaning towards the Angler. I really wish we had some like Shipwreck Sifters as far as these kind of early game disturbs go, but that hasn't quite come together. How many? We have two Startles at this point. Stop messing with my stacks game. I think we probably just need one more spell, so I'm going to go with the Flare of Faith on this one. I could definitely see an argument for picking up the Bait-Hook Angler there, but we're really just lacking interactivity. And the way that these packs have fallen, we may find another Startle, we may not. But I don't want to risk us just like not having the interactivity we want. Happy enough with Silversmith. We have a lot of these 3-power flyers to just slam the ability onto. Looks good to me. Yeah, things are coming together okay. Soul Griff Guide. I think we need it. I'm not amped about it, but again, like we don't have that one just like late game card to stack up in here. Okay. I think I can get behind what's happening here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, the things that I don't like about this deck, we don't have just a lot of the engine cards, right? We don't have any Shipwreck Sifters. We don't have. We only have the one Organ Hoarder. We have the Otherworldly Gaze, which we're going to play, but we don't have a lot of the kind of like self-mill aspects of this. This is kind of a running into being a bit of a blue-white flyers deck and not so much a Disturb deck, but Otherworldly Gaze certainly helps. We'll see. We'll see. I think we got a reasonable number assembled here. Ooh, and a 14-pig jack-o'-lantern. That shouldn't happen in best of 3. But cool. I'm happy with how this looks. So let's see. We're definitely playing 17 land. Let me double check our sideboard real quick. Nothing that we're looking to play out of there. Got to get a few cards out of here. Let me get it switched up real quick. And so, the things I'm like immediately looking to remove. I don't think I want to play Homestead Courage in this deck. It could be okay, but I think between like the Startles and the Flare Faiths, we have enough ways to interact with our opponent's flyers that it's the Courage probably just isn't going to be necessary here. So I think it can go. If we're playing, let me bring it back. We are going to be playing these Otherworldly Gazes. And it turns out getting these Courages into the graveyard for free, it's not the worst deal, right? It's not, I don't want to hype it up as being something super strong. But we'll see. I think we're going to be, like, the cards that I'm, like, looking at and immediately looking to cut, I think we only want one Gavany Trapper. I certainly want one in our deck, but I don't want to draw multiple copies of it. Our 2-drops are looking okay. I'm considering taking out this Beloved Beggar, but we might be okay. It's like, if we had the Shipwreck Sifters, I'd feel a lot better about it. But we're really kind of counting on Otherworldly Gazes as our way to kind of get rid of this thing. I'm going to go ahead and move him to the sideboard. We do need to get bunches of creatures out of here. So the next thing I'm kind of looking at taking down would be Morning Patrols. I don't think we need 3 of them, and I think we can also cut a Party Captain. I can see the ways where he's just going to come out of here and just kind of get stuck in our hand. So 19 creatures feels it's like so many. So many. I mean, maybe the Morning Patrols are just where we're going to get all of our cuts. I don't think we need the Party Captains. If we're going to try, it's like we kind of want to be this like blue-white flyers deck, but the kind of the linchpin in playing blue-white flyers is having access to Gale Drifter. So you can have these curves to where you're like, Sun Gold Sentinel into Falcon Abomination into Gale Drifter. That's the 3/2 flyer with Disturb. But we don't have access to that here. So it's cards like Silversmith get a little bit weaker. Party Captain gets a little bit weaker because we don't have a good ground game. And so I'm kind of just looking to take these out. So that can go. I think it's okay. What's our chances of like hitting Covens? We have pretty reasonable 2s and 3s. It would be kind of an argument to bring back one of these 0 or 1 attack units. Not very good at hitting Covens, but Bait-Hook Angler also helps. The flip side of the Angler has 1 attack. Yay, so we got to get 3 more out of here. I'm still kind of eyeballing cutting out this Homestead Courage, but we're getting like a lot of chicken and egg problems here as to where, I want the Otherworldly Gaze for our Disturb cards and our Flashback cards, but then we just don't have a lot of good Disturb cards. Not having those Gale Drifters is really kind of painful here. Okay. I don't think we can cut any of these early cards. I think that all has to stay. Don't really want to cut any more morning patrols either. So it's kind of like I'm looking at taking out the Silversmith. We tend to have enough to do in our 4 and 5 drop space between trying to replay morning patrols and overwhelmed archivists. Man, this is getting tough. Can't take out the Trapper. I could see cutting out a Cathar Commando. We have reasonable enough early game stuff to do. I really like being at this kind of like 6 space in the 2 drops, but we do have 3 1s, so we should have enough stuff to do in the early game. Then one more, maybe we do just cut out one Otherworldly Gaze. It's like it so much. Could we ever just? It's like I start asking myself, can we play 16 land in this kind of thing? I don't want to go down that road. I don't think that's where we're at. I'm looking at really just the Otherworldly Gaze here now. But I think I would rather have like 2 Gazes and 0 Homestead Courages as opposed to just 1 and 1. I really like really like the Gaze in these style of decks. So, okay, yeah, this ultimately isn't like super powerful. I think we kind of landed in a decent space. We just didn't get any of kind of like the really big payoff for being in blue-white. I think the kind of unfortunate space was this in this pack 3 and not wheeling the gold card. There's definitely another Disturb drafter at the table. But it's okay. I think we're good to go here. Doesn't quite feel like the six winner we had in the previous one, but it's certainly good enough to get us at least back to the break-even points here. Right, let's see how this goes. I would like to play first, and not a bad start. It's the mountains. That's a scary ass looking mountain. I haven't seen that one before. Okay, we don't want any of this. Let's send off the Disturb unit and all of the land. And we could get started with the Sun Gold Sentinel. I mean, it's probably the most likely one to just get traded on here, though. Let's wait a turn. We can flash out the Cathar Commando. It's blue-red. Okay. Definitely might be a little bit happier holding back on the Sun Gold. Blue-red tends to have some flashback aspects to it. Okay. Got it. Here's our chance to try and zoom ahead. The Chaplain of Alm should be decent here. Blue-red tends to have, a lot of targetable removal. It's hard to get your chains of things going when it costs 1 more to deal damage to all of our stuff. I think we're looking decent here. Excuse me, probably should have attacked with the zombie token, though. Just go ahead and get that damage in. Interesting no play. I mean, if it's even pretty challenging to play things like a what do you call it, like Nebelgast here. Okay. All right. Well, I think we just want to go all in on our creatures at this point. We have the combat trick in our hand. So we can protect something if we need to. Take the startle out. It's relevant here. And this should be pretty tough to recover from. Like you can Geist Flame Reservoir down our Shield Geist, but that takes like 4 mana to do, 3 mana to do. So the way this game is sequenced, he probably doesn't have additional plays if that's what he's trying to do. And then if we get to go into next turn with Flare Faiths, that's a pretty big time potential for card advantage. Highlighting the old shield geist on us. But right, given that he was like do nothing on the last turn except play Startle, I have to feel like what was he just? Is he going for the shield ghast? It's fine. Pretty tough to have a follow-up play here. Seems like they do, but okay. Maybe we'll get him. He'll try to play like a Cathartic Pyre on our Sun Gold Sentinel. We just blast him. Okay, let's see if we can't find a play. I'm gonna do the 1 mana one out of hand. So if we hit a 4 mana Disturb, we'll be able to go ahead and throw it on the board. Not what we're seeing here, but we can get rid of Bait Hook Angler, and then we probably want to be drawing Geist Wave next turn. So let's just... I think we could probably get rid of the Falcon Abomination as well. It's like we don't have very many draws better than the Falcon Abomination in our deck. Okay. This is where it's relevant with the Hook Hunt Drifter. He just gave our Sun Gold Sentinel the Coven. So, I mean, even potentially next turn we could look to give him like protection from red and then Flare of Faith as a kind of way to close this out if things get weird on board. Okay. I have to imagine that's wonderful for us if the extent of their play is the start activating the Neonate's Rush. Okay. Alright, game 1 in the books. So what do we think about this blue-red deck here? I'm not like completely opposed to bringing in an additional Cathar Commando. They do have the Geistflame Reservoir, which is extremely powerful, but then this also plays well into the likes of the blue-red guy that taps to deal a damage, or if they're playing like the larder zombie type units, at least lets us get some trades. I could see that being a thing. Otherwise, there's not too much going on in our sideboard here. And I don't think we need Jack-o'-lanterns probably ever when we have the 2 Sun Gold Sentinels. Beloved Beggar, I'm not really amped about in this matchup. Yeah, I think we're just looking at the Cathar Commando in the morning patrol. Keep our flyers, keep the Organ Hoarder. Really amped. Our sideboard potential for this deck is fairly low. The Trapper... could see taking out a Trapper, but we're not. I don't feel like either of these cards are really supreme additions to our deck here. I think I'm just going to let this go. That's wild, yeah. The previous, when we had like so many sideboard options, there was a lot of moving around of the Mind Rot card, moving in and out of the Doom Beast vampire kind of thing. Not a lot showing up in our sideboard here. I don't think we even landed with like a Thraben Exorcism here for like a Disturbed Mirror. Kind of wild. Okay, we got to see how far we'll make this one today. Recording this on the old game day here. It's getting awful close to kickoff. This is my biggest worry is that we're going to run over into the game. But nonetheless, I'm not keeping this. We need a bit of a better curve here. Okay, that's a keeper. Alright, dude, you angle them bait hooks. Okay. Do we want to just go with the Abomination? I mean, he doesn't appear to be attacking into our Sentinel either way. I think this is fine. Like, the idea would be if we play Morning Patrol, he can't attack into us with the Angler, since we have a 2-3 to his 2-1. But, you know, if he's not going... That play, you know, if he plays a 3-3 here, just shuts down our Morning Patrol play, but... Interesting. Sure. I'm gonna go with the patrol now. And it should be like clear next turn we're up to shenanigans. I'm gonna start attacking with the Sun Gold Sentinel. You know, it just has a clear trade into the Bait Hook Angler, but getting to spend all of our mana in this way feels pretty good. We just activated the reservoir and topped a locked in the cemetery. It's about as lucky as that's gonna get. I don't think she has a lot of text on her, but it doesn't do anything to these things that already target her. So she might get a removal on something at some point. Little unfortunate to see our friend get locked down in that way. Not a bad loot there. Let's get the unit for free. I mean, so the Sentinel is still relevant, right? I mean, it sucks that she can't untap, but we have a Coven now, so she can potentially get in for an attack, not die. Or, I mean, get in for an attack and not be blockable. Like, there's lots of things we can do with this. This might be our startle turn. Pretty good looking board. We should be able to outrace the card advantages from this Curse of Surveillance. That's what we always talk about with Curse of Surveillance. Is it's an extremely powerful card, but it doesn't do very much to bring you back. So if the opponent is clearly falling behind here, doesn't seem to have much to add to the board. Can we just lethal here? It seems like they're pretty likely to just have a removal. I can't imagine they just... Like, if they just had literal nothing to do, then they would have activated the Geistflame Reservoir. So, I still don't think we're in a space to not attack. We could perhaps not attack with Luminous Phantom, but, like, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We can threaten the lethal this turn. I think we should probably come in. We'll give them the one value block. If they have, like, a Nebelgast Intruder, they'll get a second one. But I think this is all okay. Like, if he's in this... If he's, like, facing down this board and in the space to where he can realistically take a value block with this Hook Hunt Drifter, then by all means, fine. Yeah. Preventing as much damage as he can here. Ooh, is this going to be a Geistflame Reservoir onto our Phantom? Okay. Alright, feeling pretty good about this one. They could have, like, the only thing that would just get us is if they have that red burning down the devils or whatever the red AoE is, but I think that's our only real worry here. Dropping the GG. Alright, so we got ourselves out of that 0 token return world. It feels much better. Like, again, if you want to break even in these events, you need to get up to the 3 win space, I believe. So if we can get 2 more wins, I'll feel kind of okay about this. And of course, we would rather be down here in the higher win land, but just getting 0 wins in these is soul crushingly brutal. All right, get a pause after each of these games. Check our fantasy statuses. I'm worried about Darren Waller actually playing today. It seems like he hurt his ankle on Friday or something, and it's a game time decision. So it's like gotta make sure we can get our squad out there today. Okay, so interesting. Let's see if opponent keeps. Like if opponent mulligans to 6, I feel like a little bit better hanging on to hands like this. If they keep their 7, it's a little bit more up in the air. I don't really like these hands. We're trying to be, a fairly aggressive deck here, as amongst these flyers, and like if our first play is on turn 3, then it's fairly bad. But if opponent's on the play and they mulligan to 6, then we're kind of up 2 cards from the start, and so I feel a little bit better about these just more grindy style starts. I'm gonna keep this one. I think it's good enough to hang on to. But it's like if it's one of these hands where if we start drawing land in the early game, we're really gonna be unhappy about it. The Archivist makes it feel a little bit better from a value sense, not so much better uh, in terms of the problems our hand is currently having here, right? If opponent had gone to 6 and we're playing this really grindy card advantage game as we draw Archivist Island, it would feel pretty decent about it, but if he plays like a Hound Tamer or something here, this is a pretty painful start. Okay, well, I'm gonna go with Morning Patrol. This just, kind of clearly reads as they flip the switch. And so he is the most switch flippable unit that we have here. But an interesting no play. I mean, it happens with blue-green if you tend to be in some kind of like really ramp-heavy Shadow Beast sighting, Organ Hoardery style deck, and you don't draw your ramp. You can have draws like this. Maybe this is why they took so long to decide on their keep. Okay. A lot of stock tied up in this Harvestite Sentry here. So this one's kind of tough. It's like I want to play the Archivist and loot away the island, but if we don't have a land next turn, this is a bit of a disaster. We're just in such a really good place if we can both startle and play a unit next turn. But I think this is where we want to be. We have a few draws at a land, and at the end of the day, if we just discard Revenge of the Drowned or something, it's not the end of the world, it's just not where we want to be. But no, that was fine. Looting away the island feels pretty good. Now that we have these spaces to where we can play a unit and a spell. Okay. Feels like he has the Root Coil Creeper. Now I was going to say, this feels like one of these plays to where he is just kind of all in on the Sentry and he may just be passing back to us. But not quite what happened. Okay. I think he's going to Winterthorn Blessing our Falcon Abomination, and then we at least still have the Geist Wave as backup here. Yep. Oh, beautiful. He loads up the Sentry. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Why would you ever not attack? Replay the Sentry? Wow. Okay, okay. So, I still think we're in this space. We need to get the Morning Patrol down. This will let us potentially startle block next turn. Yeah, you're fine. Let's get that attack in there. He's never going to block. But, maybe we've overcome this. okay with being a bit greedy here and taking the extra point of damage. Like, is going to flash back his Winterthorn Blessing. That's fine. We'll just have to be ready with the Revenge of the Drowned next turn. I'm going to startle this attack. It feels like he's being very all-in-y here. And we're to the point to where we can just kind of safely trade with this stuff. So that's fine. Lunarch Veteran was a big draw. We want to just go ahead and add the Gryph Guide as well. I think we do. We can pop the Winterthorn Blessing with this thing. And then we still have this mountain of blockers out here. Those are the triggers, okay? The Blessing. I teach you how to attack after playing all your spells. You're welcome. You're welcome. Beautiful. He's down to one card. Time to bring that heat. So yeah, we're I was gonna say, it seems like we're in a pretty overwhelmingly positive position here. Okay, so against blue-green ramp, how do we feel about any of these cards? Again, it was another one where we saw a Locked in the Cemetery, but I mean, if we're not bringing in Cathar Commando against the Geist Flame Reservoir deck, then I'm not really amped about it. I'm not opposed to adding in more Morning Patrols. I mean, we already have two, but what you tend to see a lot in the Simic ramp style deck is you don't see so much of the Harvesttide Sentry as much as they're going to have a bunch of Root Coil Creepers and Unblinking Eyes. And then kind of their angle is to try and ramp out that Shadow Beast sighting. But then once they've ramped out the Shadow Beast sighting, they're trying to kind of get you with those early game bears. And the Morning Patrol just plays fantastically into the bears. So I'm kind of considering those, but it's like it doesn't feel like we really have the space for that kind of shenanigan. I think the Flare of Faith is okay. Yeah, I think I'm still fine with our deck here. I could see a world where we want to board in the Trapper. Blue-green is very bad at interacting, so maybe we would want to bring in the Trapper, but I don't think so. I think we're fine here. All right. Just like playing best of 1 3 games in a row, right? Okay, so what do we got here? A good mix of casting costs and things we can cast, but don't have any units in here. We got to send that one away. This one looks a little bit better. So let's keep this. I think I want to just get rid of Geist Wave, but if they have one of these draws to where they're ramping out the Shadow Beast sighting, then we're really going to want to have the Geist Wave in hand. So we'll mulligan down to we'll keep the Geist Wave and keep our 2 units. Hopefully we can do some recovery with the Organ Hoarder if we need to. Okay. So no ramp for us, that's pretty good. We have a Morning Patrol to line up into this Bait Hook Angler. Okay. So the question is, like, if he attacks with the Archivist, are we willing to trade? And I'm not, like, super opposed for the attempt. And then like if they have a combat trick to win that combat, I feel pretty okay about it. I think it's fine. Feels like we were a much better. It feels like we're the control in this matchup, and we're a little bit better at being grindy than they are. And so I run like into this space kind of frequently in terms of, are you willing to trade your unit for a combat trick? And like at what stage of the game are you willing to do that in? Because it's very realistic here that if he plays like a startle onto the this combat, that he can't play any other follow-up units. But I think this is okay. If his play here is startle, it kind of sucks. If his play here is +2/+2, we feel really good about it. But good deal, he's not really doing anything. He's off 2 land and a Winterthorn Blessing. So the only downside here is our Organ Hoarder isn't super good on this board. But we really need to like pick up a 2 or a 3 so that we can play a card and a combat trick. But it's like we're just going to get tempoed here. This is going to be problematic. Put the Flare of Faith in our hand and then just be greedy with the flashback spell. I think this is okay. But yeah, we're gonna have trouble here. He can, if he has a land, he can add a land and Winterthorn Blessing our guy, get in for 5 damage. It's kind of scary. this weird look about myself. It's like I can't tell if it was the thunder and the game noise of the thunder outside. Like it rained today. It's a very realistic chance it's something outside. All right, yeah, this is a bit unfortunate. He's definitely going to make a tempo play on us here. Surprised that he went for the Silver Bolt opposed to the tap last turn, but that's what it is. So how do we feel if he actually just doesn't do anything? He keeps highlighting his disturb unit in the back, like he's not going to tap our unit. Okay, well I'm happy to Flare Faith this. We gotta get some of these cards out of our hand. Could not have gone better than that. I wonder if they just have like 2 land in hand and they're really interested in getting this loot going with the Archivist. Like, they seem real intent on putting the Archivist down. Okay. 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 Well, I have to assume that if they're willing to just make that, well, it's kind of tough. I would assume that they probably don't have a combat trick unless they've just drawn it. But it's weird that they didn't attack with all 3 units last turn. Like he wasn't willing to trade the Harvest Tide Sentry for our Luminous Phantom. Okay. Willing to bet they're just very land heavy at this point. Well, we're still going to come out and try and get this bait hook angler off the board. I feel like we're just in another one of these just don't die situations. The blockers here. Want to startle. Okay. Let's go ahead and attack with the zombies. Probably not going to block. We get to gain the life off of it. Let's go ahead and just make sure that one happens. We really need something to do. We'd really love to have a search party captain here in this space. Just to let us churn through some of this mana. We don't have a lot of ways, as we've gotten to like the late game here, we don't have a lot of ways to deal with a board stall. Just kind of the overwhelmed archivist is the only thing. Okay, so we take 4. He gets another loot, so he's going to continue to get further ahead. That's starting to be scary now that he's feeling good about attacking with a Harvesttide Sentry, but we have to try and trade it. And then I'm looking to just return the Falcon Abomination to our hand and replay it next turn. Just doesn't really feel like Geistwave is doing anything here. Wrangler's bad. Okay, so there's not even any instance in the graveyard. There's not any particularly good targets in here. I guess they could potentially have like the regrowth card, but we missed an attack with the zombie again. We should have got those in, but I mean we've at least caught up on board. This kind of devolves into him like tapping stuff with Scab Wranglers. That feels pretty good for us. Okay. But yeah, especially like assuming we lose this game and going into game 3, I think I am looking to just kind of be like much more aggressive with these cards in terms of like the party captain seemed fantastic against what this guy's doing. He's just playing like a ton of 2 health units. He doesn't seem to have anything that really interacts outside of Winterthorn Blessings. He did just cycle off a Nebelgast Intruder, which is fairly frightening to me. But I think that kind of aggressive style thing is going to be okay here. He's looking to tap our Griff Guide, and then we just get to attack with Morning Apparition. I'm going to attack with our little zombie tokens as well, but yeah, we're not really really built to be a deck out here drawing 11 land. We just don't have the tools to play this kind of late game. This is kind of why I was like, well, maybe we could play Mysterious Tome in a deck like this. Just getting to spend your mana on something for a while is decent when these board stalls happen. Brings back his Winterthorn Blessing. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright, yeah, I'm curious after playing games like that if we should actually just be including these party captains as a means of just kind of drawing some cards and having something to do with our mana. I think at least in this matchup, I'm pretty happy to have them. Again, like it seems like every single unit this guy had was a bear, and so I think those seem pretty decent. I'm also interested in bringing in the Morning Patrol. It seemed pretty good against everything that he was doing. In terms of what to take out, I think this Cathar Commando can go. It's not very good against what he's doing. I definitely want to hang on to the Sun Gold Sentinels. And then it's like I'm just kind of looking like down the curve a little bit. Like I don't want to take out like too much stuff against against this deck, but it's like I think we can do without an otherworldly gaze. Um, then want to hang on to the one trapper. I could see taking out like a Lunarch veteran or a chaplain, but I want to keep a lot of this early game aggression to use with our party captains. Just they don't play too well into bears. Two party captains, Organ Hoarder. The top end is fine. Okay, let's just stick with the two morning patrols. Okay. But I definitely feel better about the party captains in a matchup like this, and like they play quite well with the zombie flyer as well. Like when we can attack with a 2-drop and zombie flyer on turn 3, I think it's quite nice. I mean, it doesn't have 2-drops in it, which is a bit of a pain in the dick, but I think we can't mulligan a hand this high quality. If we're, I know we did just kind of like board into more of like an aggressively centered deck, but we can play for a long game with hands like this. But like any one or any two turns this into a bit of a monster. Takes a mulligan to 6. I think he might have just gone to 5. Yeah, he definitely went to 5. Okay, we'll definitely be more interested in just trying to control deck it in this matchup if he's going to be down so many cards this early. Well, not a bad start for a mulligan. It's pretty tempting to come out here and just Geist Wave that thing, but we can get on board. Got the Shadow Beast. Not today. That's a bunch of stuff. Beautiful. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of like the exact scenario where I imagine the party captain would be good. Trades with every one of his units and just a very easy 2-for-1. I thought we'd be able to play him for cheaper than 3. Like if we could also piece together these turns to where, we get to attack, play party captain for 2 mana, and then follow up with a startle on our opponent's turn. Very, very powerful things to be trying to do. 3 land. Probably one of the best farmers you could hit at this point, just in terms of what's happening this game. If he was going to draw a land for the next 3 turns on the row, he's just definitely going to lose. But gotta feel good to see that happening. Okay, let's get rid of our Disturb and the land. Scab Wrangler is monster annoying, but it's okay. We're looking all right. We should have played Morning Patrol instead of the Falcon Abomination just to do a little bit better with our mana, but it's okay. The big decisions coming down the pipeline here. Okay. I'll definitely try to trade. Decided against attacking and then has an Organ Hoarder. Okay. So if he taps something here, if he taps the Morning Patrol again, I mean, I think our attack is free with the Morning Patrol. If he wants to double block to take it down, it's okay. But we'll at least make him put forth the effort to get the stop there. And see, this would be a much better turn if we were adding the Falcon Abomination here, and we were able to Geist Wave or Startle or Otherworldly Gaze. That was a bit of a slip up and playing the units in the wrong sequencing, but seems okay. Get ourselves ready for the big grind here. This one's gonna take a while. His mulligan has been kind of nullified with the length of time this game's taken. I mean, we do have 5 cards in hand to his 2, but it's certainly not a guaranteed win at this stage. Interesting. Slowly inching up some advantages. Slowly but surely. Just gotta discard the land. Nice to pick up the flyer, but I don't want to be too aggressive with this. I think we're still in it for the long haul here. Alright, bring in the Gale Drifter, you got it. First blood. Okay. Yeah, let's hang on to the Startle. I think the flying attackers are going to be much more relevant here as our ground game is done, but the Overwhelmed Archivist threatens to trade with some of this stuff, so he can start getting into combat, so the Startle looks good with him. Okay. Morning Apparition's the one we want to be attacking with. I'm glad to see him tap off these Falcon Abominations. But if we get to attack with the Archivist, that means we also get to attack with the Morning Patrol. I mean, it's a free attack. Let's be real. We should be attacking with the Morning Patrol here. Because if he wants to get clever on our Archivist, we want plays to make on it. Interesting. Okay. So we'll get a Startle onto the Hoarder. And then we can still follow up with Falcon Abomination. It's fairly tempting to to let the Archivist die and get that looting the looting Disturb, but given that we don't have the potential to attack every turn since he's got this Scab Wrangler, it's probably a little more dangerous in that kind of way. Let's see, is it a devious cover up? Okay. I'm going to keep on startling. It's pretty tough for us to get a better one. See if he wants to shuffle those lands back into his deck. Does worry. I mean, he can't piece together some kind of turn where he just blows us up. He's getting a reasonable amount of damage on the board here. We just don't have the means to block a Harvest-Tide Sentry. We're going to have to send it back to his hand at some point. But, I mean, I feel reasonably safe. We've got 2 bounce spells in hand. It's tough for him to take advantage of us completely. Probably not really happy about tapping anything here. If he does tap something, I'm really interested in just attacking with everything. So that would be kind of our signal that things are open. We also have this ability to, say, play a Falcon Abomination here, play a Revenge of the Drowned on the next turn, and then on his turn, and that's going to give us an additional 2 zombies to attack with. I don't think he's going to be tapping anything here. And if he doesn't tap, do we still feel good about these attacks? I think I do. I mean, he realistically has 1 good block with the Eccentric Farmer. I assume he's going to say, like, put a Root Coil Creeper in front of our Archivist or something, but that trade is something we're more than willing to make. Like, all of these trades look very good for us. Okay. So we're getting in for 8 on this board. The downside to this is if we want to flash back, the Disturb on the Archivist is 4, so we can't Archivist plus Revenge of the Drowned. But that's fine. It's not a big deal. Okay, you tap something. So I guess the other question would be is if we don't want to make this Revenge of the Drowned kind of play, do we want to, say, play both Falcon Abomination and the Archivist? It doesn't get us any extra damage that way. And I do kind of like the idea of, you know, if opponent has some kind of ridiculous spell, we can potentially protect ourselves here a little bit. Like, we're never beating that thing that doubles all of your units' attack and health. Well, it kind of looks like we can beat that card here, but I feel good about this. Plummet. Okay. So what happens if he makes that same play, right? Comes in with the Sentry and the Gale Drifter, and then plans on keeping back the Scab Wrangler. Yeah, I think that's fine. Curious as to what his last card could be here that he didn't play. There's it's a bit scary. If we knew that he had just like no play, we could line this up perfectly with the Geist Wave. But a little scary. Okay, let's see if he didn't do anything in the attackers. Well, we can wait on him to do stuff. I mean, it's tempting to play this Geist Wave here, but it's lethal. Okay. All right. Shoo. Glad we got out of that one. That was definitely a world where you can lose to a mulligan to 5. Okay, good deal. Where are we at? Where are we at in the prizes now? Do we get our 2 tokens back? we gotta win one more. It feels like a weight is lifted off your shoulders once you get up to this 2 token space and you're back into the even land with the big buy-in events. But good deal. Okay, on to the next one. Took a break from the video to go watch the Chiefs game. Usually finish them even in the in the times of adversity, but I go ahead and gave a pass to about the fourth quarter on from that game. It's just like I hate to like let it go. Like they're always one of those teams that can just put up 21, 24 points in the fourth quarter. That's how they won the Super Bowl, was putting up 21 points in the third quarter against the 49ers. But that was a painful game of football to watch. I got to relog. Hang on, I think that usually does this when we need to relog. Okay, so yeah, the Patriots figured out the strategy back in 2018, which is where you just dominate time of possession. They would do the Tom Brady shit and push the ball down the field, but they would do like 10-minute drives, because the way it would always go against the Chiefs, it was just kind of like whoever, you just assumed the Chiefs defense was so bad and the offense was so good that whoever basically got to start with the ball in hands the most times in the game would win. And so the Patriots just kind of ran out this strategy as to where they were going to try to hold the ball as long as they could, keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, and then just have the ball one more time than the Chiefs did. And that's what it's like playing against the Titans. I mean, I'm sure they have much more brilliant football minds on their squad than this dumbass, but through function of just having Derrick Henry, the Titans tend to run that strategy by default. It's always a brutal matchup for the Chiefs, and this doesn't help when the offense isn't clicking with the Chiefs. But nonetheless, back to the action here. Interesting set of cards. We most certainly want this island, but how deep are we willing to go on the discards here? Like, we don't really have to discard any of these. Against this dude, I don't know, against like the Mystic Skull deck with double swamp, like I think we just hang on to all of these. Submit 0, draw the island, then the Abomination, then the Startle. Okay. All right, away from the football, back to the children's card games, and so yeah, always kind of odd to see a Mystic Skull show up on the board. We've considered playing it before, but I'm really wondering if this guy's playing like 3 colors or maybe even 4 colors, and that's why you'll roll the dice on a Mystic Skull. But we'll have to keep that in mind as we sideboard. If we're going to see, weird stuff like the Mystic Skull, then we may or may not want to look to bring in the second Cathar Commando. But I'm going to try and approach this kind of in the blue-white flyers style, in terms of we could probably hold down the graveyard here for a bit with our bait hook anglers, and then we can look to go to the skies with the Falcon Abomination. Gavany Silversmith is fantastic at shutting down that game plan. Let's see what opponent does. He puts the counter on Ecstatic Awakener, so I'm going to say probably not using it this turn. And so we're good to just attack with the Falcon Abomination. I mean, I'm curious if his plan is ever to just try and get a flip with the Awakener. It doesn't seem very good. We have a great double block on the Silversmith now, but kind of one of the downsides here is with leaving that Startle on top is we can't hit our 4th land. So it makes it a little bit more challenging here. Interesting. I feel like we're being gifted a lot of free time. Let's get the old Organ Hoarder down. I'm gonna flip his thing. Costs 5 to flip. Oh, I guess that works out okay. I got real confused. I thought saw the cards come up and I thought we were doing an otherworldly gaze. So I was like, oh no, I just want to get rid of all of them. So I started to click stuff and we picked up the planes. That's fine. I don't want the bait hook angler. We kind of need mana here so that we can get this combat trick plus new card style of action going. He's eyeballing this Mystic Skull over here. It looks like he wants to bring it to the battlefield. It doesn't get to attack this turn though. You got to pay 5 and tap it just to flip it, and so it's going to take it quite a bit of time to actually come out here and do anything. All right, so I mean, he seems quite interested in flipping this Awakener. How do we feel about taking it off the board? The problem we run into with this is that it's gonna like flip the Survivor, and then the Survivor can start bringing it back. I think I'm kind of okay with that, but I'm much more interested in these good blocks or these good attacks that we get on the way back with our Organ Hoarder here. So I'm just gonna let this one go. We could have potentially thrown Morning Patrol in front of it, but it doesn't seem that necessary at this exact moment. Yeah, no units in the bin for the Dauntless Avenger. Okay, so I mean, we're back to having good attacks here again. We can add the planes. We get in with the bird and the Organ Hoarder. Then we'll get to follow up with the Sun Gold Sentinel here. Then we have the Startle Flare of Faith for the next turn. Good. This all looks good. It's interesting with the Flare of Faith in terms of, we want to use it to protect a unit and hopefully get it into combat. He's eyeballing his Silver Bolts now. But we might get something good next turn, right? Where he tries to Silver Bolt our Sentinel, and then we Flare of Faith it to give it indestructible. Kind of leaves him in a space to where his attacks are now horrific. And I think that's what's about to happen here. I'm going to try and Silver Bolt our Sentinel before combat so it can't block anything. Sigarda's Splendor. Okay. We do, pretty reasonably in the face of the Splendor since we have these flyers coming on here. Don't have a Coven, which is slightly awkward. I mean, we can hit a Coven by playing out our Bait Hook Angler, but we're not going to be attacking with it this turn. So we're just coming in with the Falcon Abomination here. Get a Trapper on board. Get a Flying Angler on board. We're reasonably well positioned to start taking this down. No cards from opponent. Good. All right, let's keep doing that thing with the flyers. Then we should be in a reasonable place to close out this game next turn. We can tap his Awoken Demon at the beginning of his combat. Then when it swings back to our turn, we can tap another unit, hit with the whole squad. And that looks like it should be enough to end the game. Bringing out the Mystic Skull. So crappy for that thing to have to tap to flip. Yeah. Whoa, all the big boys have arrived to the party. Okay. Not going to tap anything here. We'll let him attack with whatever he chooses. It's even worth it. We should go ahead and just tap a big boy, right? Okay, so... I mean, how many... If he's going to block... Well, here, we have the 4 in the air. We can just come in with the Sun Gold Sentinel. His artifact is tapped. Alright. So good deal, good deal. Curious about what the red is in that deck. You know, black, red, or a Boros card. Kind of interesting. But so, I mean, yeah, we have the options. Do we want to bring in Cathar Commando? I mean, it's good against the Monstrosity. He has the Sigarda card, which is, you know, kind of whatever. I think the game kind of like lined up reasonably well for us there. It's where I start to think about the things like the Morning Patrol and the Silversmith. If we're just going to be in a big like gridlocked ground board against a bunch of bears, it could be okay. But I think I'm really just looking to say take out the Otherworldly Gaze, add in the Cathar Commando, and call it a day. I don't think we need to do too much work to our deck here. We could think towards the party captains, but they tended to have big enough dudes. I guess their dudes were big because he played a Gavany Silversmith, but could look to bring a party captain in. Startle should be good. The Anglers are good. It's just kind of that weird in the sense that we wanted the Cathar Commando. I think this is okay. Ooh. All right, yeah, not bad, not bad. I mean, I've had myself in a space before where I've considered playing the whatever that transform artifact is called. It's usually just easy enough to find better, right? You can play Jack-o'-lantern, you can play the Crossroads Candle Guide. You know, there's just better options than that transform artifact. Okay, so on the draw, how how hard do we want to risk this to just draw planes? And then how bad is it if we just draw an island? Or if we just don't draw anything? I mean, if we don't draw anything by the third turn, that's pretty bad. But I think we're strong enough here to where we can risk this. He is playing a fairly kind of like low to the ground curvy deck, so this might be a little bit too greedy. But at 3 draws for a land, I think I'm kind of okay with it. Sure. It's like I saw the percentage jump up to 48, and I knew that we missed our land drop. So, yeah, this is gonna be pretty bad if we miss. At least he's not being ultra aggressive with his ambitious farmhand, but not gonna feel good if we don't have a play next turn. Okay, we at least hit the island. An opponent didn't have a 2 or a 3. Interesting. Maybe they're gonna flash out a commando or something. Can't imagine what kind of hand they have if they just don't have a play. Yeah, that's fine. Sure. Or dim organs. We can't keep. Well, I mean, we have to keep something, but we need to find a planes in a major way. What do we think of the Geist Wave, though? I think I would rather have Geist Wave than the Startle. It's like how it's going to be like a long time before we get to protect the Organ Hoarder in these attacks. Well, I guess I'm like okay to just take 5 next turn, and then we can look to play towards Startle. But if we whiff, like we can't make plays like that. Let's just pick up the Geist Wave. And if we trade with the farmhand here, I think that's okay. Pretty bad if he has the Ecstatic Awakener, the 1/1 black card that lets him flip the farmhand. Okay. Mystic Skull, back at it. All right. Well, the startle play would have worked out, but that's fine. Sure. He returns as Silversmith. Okay. I mean, I guess no. If you have a land, you can't even hit a coven. That's fine. Just to make a bigger loyal Griff. Huh. Okay. Right, well, I mean, if we draw planes, I feel like we're going to be fine. He's just coming in with the Griff this turn. Can't block. And I want to keep our potential blockers back here. If he wants to swing in with everything, I want to be able to put Organ Hoarder in front of the farmhand, the Abomination and the Angler in front of the Silversmith. He trades, but we get a unit at the end of the day, and then we're still kind of ready to block again the next turn. Yeah, that's a lot of silversmithing. He's trying to figure out how to make a coven. He said, I've messed this up in the past. How do I fix it now? Sure. So he's going to attack with the farmhand. We're going to throw a bunch of blockers in front of it, because he's going to spend the mana here to try and get the flip. So let's do this. Half tempting to bounce our own unit there, but we don't have time for those shenanigans. Unfortunate. Okay. Oh my gosh, we drew a plains. So what do we do with it? The thing we need to try and line up is we need to get the bait hook angler dead so that we can block with it. I just don't think these kind of plays are really coming up. Hopefully if we just kind of hang back, we'll get greedy and come in and try and attack next turn and we can block with the angler. But doing it like this, like with the Cathar Commando in the background, puts it just a little bit more risk. Okay, we're getting what we want in that sense. So we're playing the Commando. Now we have very good blocks. Let's wait and see what he does. I kind of want to sacrifice off the Cathar Commando to take down the Mystic Skull, but it seems like he might be making some sacrifices in here. Don't think that does what you want. Okay. So like a plains would be a perfect draw. Revenge of the Drowned does a similar thing. Okay. so now we need to switch into Sun Gold Sentinel. It can remove... I guess there's a world where he has Raised Deads. Take the Flesh Taker, I guess. And then I want to go ahead and attack with the zombies. They can finally get a reasonable attack in here. Okay, okay. Might have turned the corner in this one. We just play everything? I'm just trying to 5-7. Yeah, we can just play everything. Okay. Okay, okay. He kept his loyal Griff as well. Interesting. I didn't pay attention to what went on top of his deck. I think they're officially out of cards. We can do this. We can still give him the this thing before he's allowed to block. Hang on to the planes. We do have that that one looter in our deck. We could try and cycle away, maybe. Sack it to the Awakener, it's fine. Okay, okay. So close. Oh my god, are you fucking kidding me? what a joke. To finally turn that one around and just be like, dirt to Lisa. Oh my god. Okay. Good job, buddy. Let's see if we can take this one down in this round. That one was a little greedy. Like I can like reasonably tell that opponent isn't as experienced as us, and that's why I was kind of willing to just hang on to a hand that was a little bit subpar, right? I could kind of get an inkling that he doesn't share the same ladder rank that we do. But nonetheless, we're going to have to deal with Lisa, apparently. So I'm going to bring in a Gavany Trapper just as another means to kind of deal with her. I'm looking at something like Beloved Beggar. We don't have the ways to get rid of it, though. It's not going to quite work out how I want. I guess kind of the other thing is, though, we're going to be on like the play and look to be, reasonably kind of like tempo aggressive-y here. So what if we actually say look to bring in like the Silversmith, the Party Captains. Let me see how this looks with like our aggressive package in here. Like the Gaze would come out. Those are all fine. All fine. It's a little bit expensive down here, but we'd say look to bring out Lunarch Veteran. It seems fairly weak in this matchup. I'll keep the Chaplain of Alms. It's fine. I want the Silversmith to go up in the air. Like the Party Captains. Morning Patrol can come out. And let's just take out the Cathar Commando. It was good in that game, but I feel like I'm not even really that worried about the Mystic Skull. Like, it's nice to have the answer to it, but it's not that big of a deal. I think that's where we're at. If we look at Party Captain here, Silversmith. Okay, I like it. Just give ourselves like a little bit better of an aggressive package, and then give us a little bit more, unit strength with the +1/+1 counters against these Gavany Silversmiths. Okay, that'll get the job done. Let's start off try and get our early game trades in with these bait hook anglers. Okay. Assume they just never block. Alright, so yeah, I mean, this leaves us in these nice spots to where we can potentially attack. If they no block, we play 2 units. If they do block, we have startles and then another follow-up unit. Lots of good stuff happening here. It's highlighting our Morning Patrol like he wants to play a removal spell, which would be completely okay. Unless he's going to try and go like land, dude, attack. A lot of those times I'm fine with just trading our patrol with whatever that attacker is. Or whatever the other dude is. No attacks. And they're stumbling. Okay. How do we feel? Like, I think I'm okay with making the trade here. We're just losing half of a card. We get to add both of our aggressive units here. And then this kind of leaves us in the same spot next turn as we were in this turn, to where we have, you know, good aggressive attacks. If we feel the need to startle, we can. If we, say, draw a any 3-drop, we can still startle plus play the 3. And then if we just need to be mana efficient, we can drop the Morning Patrol. Like, all this feels very good. Still curious what those mountains in his deck for. I mean, he's got 2 mountains and the skull thing to play red cards. He hasn't played a red card yet, though. He left his black mana behind as well. I'm sure there's some kind of reasoning for this. Okay. You're not winning any races here today. Feels like he's probably got to have a midnight ambush. That's my my inkling on the scenario here. Okay. Yeah, the inkling was correct. He gets to protect his farmhand, which is a little bit scary here, but we've definitely got the advantage on board. It's tough for them to have like a 3-attack unit and be able to flip the farmhand in this spot, though. It's not bad. See if they see if they mess up these counters. You can't get a coven out of this. So I would think realistically you probably want to put the counters on the Silversmith and the Flesh Taker, because it's very easy to have a 2-attack unit. Not that easy to have a 1 or a 4. And so if he's wanting to flip the farmhand, I think that's what he's coming to realize here. Is his best unit on the board is the farmhand, but he can't make covens if that's what he puts the counter on. Okay. So how do we feel about our aggression here? We get to punch in for, you know, realistically we attack with everything. He blocks like the zombie tokens with his Silversmith Flesh Taker, takes 6. And then he can start up his next turn with the flipped farmhand. I think we need to get the Organ Hoarder on board. most certainly needs to be on board to try and combat this farmhand. And then we can see if we pick up like a bounce spell or a startle or something, and we can't make this just a little bit stronger. Lots of strong choices here, but like if we feel like the Organ Hoarder can contest this ambitious farmhand, then I'm kind of okay with just picking up a flyer. And then we might actually have this work out in our favor if he does the thing like we attack with everything. I'm calling out the blocks onto the zombie tokens because it keeps us from losing our bait hook anglers, but he might actually block the anglers. Then we have the one attack unit that we can use for our coven. I think I'm going to go with the Sun Gold Sentinel here. Right. Okay, he's coming in on the anglers. Leaves the farmhand at home. That's why we wanted our Organ Hoarder. We get in for 6. Then Sun Gold Sentinel gives us good attacks next turn. I like it. So he needs a 2-attack unit to get the flip on the farmhand. I mean, it's just tough to do. If he has another, like a Silversmith as his way to try and hit covens, then he can't flip because he doesn't have the mana for it. And as it stands, we can get the Sun Gold Sentinel across with just white mana. Geist Wave. Do you ever just win us the game? I don't think so. We're going to be a mana short. Okay. So, Bait Hook Angler. You and you. Sure. So now we're completely healthy. We can take all the damages from his attack next turn. The idea here is that he just doesn't have a 2-attack unit, right? He would have probably put forth more effort into hitting the coven on this farmhand. Like the thing he can do, I guess, he can sacrifice the Silversmith to Flesh Taker, then have like a 1/3/4. Oh, that is not the way he's going about it. Okay. But I just like suspect with this setup we can either make it like a big tempo play where we bounce something with the Falcon Abomination, like he gets really greedy and attacks with all of his units or something, or if we need to prevent the lifesteal kind of plays, then we can still Geist Wave away this Ritual Guardian. Okay, so yeah, how do we feel about this? He's clearly going to be able to Silversmith something. I think we're fine with him just like flipping the farmhand and then we can just deal with the Ritual Guardian. I think this is okay. Guess we can see where he puts the tokens to see if he messes up. No, he'll always be able to flip. He has a 1/2/3 on the board. Okay. How do we feel about this? I mean, we put the Organ Hoarder in front of the Ritual Guardian, and then bounce the farmhand after he spends the mana. That's going to keep him at 2. Oh no, he'll go up to 6, right? But we can win from 6. Right, he spends the mana. You bounce the farmhand. Now we've got 6 damage on board. There it is. Got him. Okay. All right, so yeah, got ourselves up to the break-even point. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. There's a weight off the shoulders to know that you're not going to be in the neg too big. I don't mean to sound like I'm talking trash on that previous opponent. Just you can, as you get more experienced, you can tell when people are less experienced than you. And there were just some plays in there that seemed as though we'd been to a few more rodeos than our opponent had. So, whoa! Not keeping this one, though. And I don't think we can go to 5. Alright. Let's just be ultra greedy with this hand. Like, the hand needs a plains to work, and a plains is what lets us play our Falcon Abomination as well. And so, we're just gonna hope for the best here. Hope for the best. I don't think having access to the singular Falcon Abomination is what really gives us a lot of opportunities to jump ahead here. But there we go. We do our planes. I kind of want to play like our non-white card, our white cards here, because like let's say, we draw we draw another island next turn, then we can play both Chaplain of Alms and Falcon Abomination. But if we play the Falcon Abomination here, that really limits what we're able to add to the board. This attack's not very fun, though. Let's get our flyers up here. I don't want to trade our Morning Patrol for a Bait Hook Angler at this stage of the game. Okay. Sure. As Menace. Can't block it. Could block it, not going to. These are good. He does get like a bunch of draws out of this Novice Occultist, but I think I'm good to try and just get these dudes off board. Let's bring the squad. I think I'm happy enough to trade out the Bait Hook Angler now. Yep. So he gets a little token. Now, oh, sure. It's not a land. Who do we discard? It's like I still kind of want to hang on to this like Chaplain of Alms. I feel it just doesn't feel like it's going to really do anything though. It's not a like premier early play against blue black. It's just going to be kind of curve filler here. Okay. Our attacks look good against this board. Well, we're certainly struggling for land here. I'm surprised they haven't been coming in with these zombie tokens, but kind of is what it is. Yep. Okay. Well, let's not give up, I guess. We can get the Morning Patrol on board. Another reasonable ground blocker. But I think we're just probably too far behind here. That's it? Okay. Well. Well, can you do? Maybe I should have taken back our stance of you know, you got to get rid of the island. I mean, I guess our hand wouldn't be like that much stronger if we had an island, but I do concede that it would be much stronger. Really? Okay. I mean, I'll take the bait on whatever it is you're doing here. Okay, well, I mean, if he's gonna give us days on end, then I guess we can try and build up boards. I mean, we have 5 cards in his hand to his 1, so I'll gladly take what we can get here. So that takes us to 6. He's going to get 2 zombies back, 1 from Procession, 1 from his zombie. Okay. Sure. There's the land. I mean, I feel like this was a reasonable enough matchup for us, but we just needed a couple more land, and we would have been right in there. So, okay, so how do we feel about this white-black deck? I don't want Cathar Commandos here. He's had just like way too much dirtily early game stuff for me to want that. Looking at, I don't think we want like party captains. I think this is a game where we have to be out here and willing to win it in the air. And so it's like I'm looking to bring in Morning Patrol and Gavany Silversmith. Both of these play quite well here. Lunarch Veteran does not really play well against this deck. We aren't trying to like if we can't trade it for anything, and we aren't trying to just like race against Black Red or something. I'm not a huge fan of the things it brings to the table. So I think that's okay though. Be a little bit slower, but a little bit heavier in the skies. Play first. Oh, these games. Are you kidding me? Okay. Well, that's the way the dice roll sometimes. We can still do it. He went to 6, and then if we pick up, like if we picked up a 2-drop, we'll be like right back in this. So we'll see. Well, that's that's about right. Picking up another land in a space like this. Okay. So many land. I think we just want the Chaplain of Alms in our graveyard. The 1/1 version's not going to do anything here. So back it stays. No blocks here. Short. You got it. Wow. I mean, what more is there to say? Mulligan a 6-land hand into a 6-land hand, keep the 6-land hand on the second try, and then draw 2 land immediately. Just kind of is what it is. Okay. I mean, that's the way the game goes sometimes. We've got our we've got our low roll out of the way. Let's see if we can't push forward the rest of the way. Okay, well, reasonable start. You get to see things like this on occasion to make up for the previous game. Okay. How do we feel about trading a Sun Gold Sentinel for a Root Coil Creeper? It's tough, right? In terms of like his play for him, ideally next turn would be the likes of a Shadow Beast sighting. So if he wants to protect his Shadow Beast sightings, he'd have to trade for the Root Coil Creeper. But if he trades for the Creeper here, it really potentially messes up with their curve. Oh my god. Come on. Are you fucking kidding me? Come on. Oh my god. This is the way this is going, apparently. The cat's out here scratching on the door. You open up the door and she just stares at you and walks away. Fucking cats. So I think this is kind of the realization he's in. I think we're gonna see him hit a Shadow Beast sighting next turn, which it's kind of a struggle for us. But we at least get to remove it from the graveyard immediately. We have the Coven, so we can continue on our aggression. All right, yeah. We should be able to get wider than this fairly easily. Well, I don't want to say easily, but hopefully we should be able to get wider than this. Between the Startle and the Falcon Abomination, we can keep attacking in with our Sun Gold Sentinel. I think this is fine. Okay. How do we feel if our line next turn is to give the Sun Gold Sentinel the protection from green so he can block it with the Organ Hoarder, and then just look to startle off the Organ Hoarder in the combat? Do we like that more than just adding a Falcon Abomination? Gotta check and make sure he doesn't have like weird things happening with his mana. He does not. So I think this is okay. Green. Heck with these two. You assume that the Organ Hoarder's got to make a block, and then we just have the startle. We drew a Gavany Trapper, but our mana's tapped wrong. I don't know if I would have stopped to have thought about that. I guess we technically have 2 1-cost blue cards, but then we have 3 1-cost white cards, so we should have probably... Well, I guess it would have been 2 and 2 at this point, because we've drawn the Chaplain of Alms. Okay. Interesting timing, because now we can't attack with this thing. I could show you what's going on right now as my cat is back to scratching on the door because she wants inside. Oh, man. Okay, let's make sure this mana gets tapped right. This is okay. Here's the Falcon Abomination. We want to add the Trapper. Looks like he might have a counter spell or something. Alright. She came in this time. Okay. Kind of the same space. I mean, no difference in them having a flip the switch and having a rando removal spell here. So what happens if he like I don't know, taps out for a Burly Breaker or something. I think it's okay. It doesn't feel like that's a turn where we're about to win the game. I want to be able to tap something on his turn, surprise him with the Cathar Commando. Well, we're in kind of the same space here. Can't let him just have our unit though. I guess they could play Regrowth, so let's take the clear shot. It's probably the most problematic one here. Now I think we're at least in a reasonable space to get a kill next turn. He's probably out of flash cards. Okay. Cool. So against the old blue-green deck, what do we think here? Of course, the trappers are always good. They tend to not have answers for it, but it's pretty expensive mana-wise. I don't think we are interested in that. I want to go ahead and pull in the Jack-o'-lantern just in case. I don't feel like we're going to want to play it, but I could see like taking out a gaze for a Jack-o'-lantern. It's pretty. He's shown us 2 Shadow Beast sightings up to this point. Otherwise, we don't interact with the board too well. I feel like this is one of these spaces as to where we can just get the flyers on board and try to boost them with the Silversmith. So I think he's okay. Where does that leave us? I'm fine without playing Jack-o'-lantern, I guess. The Sun Gold Sentinels should hopefully be enough. Let's just take out another Worldly Gaze. Do we want to say maybe bring out a Morning Patrol and add in a Homestead Courage? Because like my kind of the thing with these matchups are if things are going right for our opponent, they're going to have that curve to where they have the Shadow Beast sighting on turn 3. And then it can either be attacking into you, in which case these attacks with Morning Patrol would be good, or it's just sitting back, and if we're getting our 4/4 virtual card advantage by a 2/3, then that's a pretty good deal. But if the things go wrong in their game plan, to where say they have this curve of involving like the Unblinking Eye, so they play like Unblinking Eye and then nothing on 3, then the Shadow Beast on 4, then the Morning Patrols start to be much more decent in those matchups, because this deck tends to just have like a lot of bears in it. But I'm trying to think if we essentially just want to take out a Morning Patrol for a Homestead Courage, because he can't interact with our units very well, and I like the idea of just getting these big flyers going on the board. But I think this is fine. Let's stop here. I forgot we do have the Soulgriff Guide as a means to pop a Shadow Beast sighting out of the graveyard. I think we've drawn it, but we just haven't played it. This game. I think this is fine. I'd prefer to be a little more aggressive than what this hand offers up, but right, we just can never beat a ramp draw with a hand like this. Oh boy. From one end of the spectrum to the other. All right. Ooh, no play. Interesting. I'm going to wait and just play the Cathar Commando on their turn. I would rather sprinkle in these 1-drops as opposed to just run them out now. So it's like if we draw an island here and we can play both Bait Hook Angler and, a 1-drop, that's going to feel much better. But opponents having a couple mana problems of their own. Stalled on 2. No play. I mean, this Gavany Trapper should be fantastic in this match. He doesn't have to play. All right, a little unfortunate for opponent. I know how you feel. It's from a handful of games ago. Alrighty, there. Their loss is our advantage. I don't know if they mulligan though. We get the we get the bonus because we mulliganed to 6 there. We did get pretty lucky though. We kept that one lander and immediately spiked a land. On to the next one, the old mullet monk. They've decided to stop being bald. They're now sporting mullets. What do we got? That's reasonable enough. It's not particularly strong, but we get a few turns of setup with the otherworldly gaze, and opponent just mulliganed, so it makes me feel a little bit better being on the draw and having a more control-y style hand. Okay. The Boros. Interesting. I don't think I'm really wanting like Startle, but I mean I have to imagine we're going to be getting into combat soon. Definitely want to get rid of the island and want to keep the Abomination. I think this is fine. Put the Startle on top. It'll be a bit of time before it comes down. He's highlighting the beloved beggar. No blocks. No blocks, man. You can ninjutsu me if that's what's about to happen. Maybe that'll be a thing here before we know it. Oh boy. Stormseeker. Interesting sequencing. Alright, well, we can't do shenanigans this turn. I think we have to wait until next turn. It's just too much to be like passing on prospects of getting to use a combat trick. I think we'd have to add dudes to the board. He has the opportunity to get like one haste attack in here, and then maybe we could have something happen next turn. Okay. It's a much scarier unit now. I mean, we can play 2 cards this turn to send it back to day, but it doesn't seem that great. Let's see what he does. We have all these tricks in our hand. We should be able to do something here. And do we care about taking the 6 damage? Because I don't think he's ever going to have a way to like kill off this beloved beggar. And so it is a nice unit to be able to just send back to their hand, but I think the tempo here is too good. Oh, I'm out of water. Whew, and these best of 3s being out of water, it's gonna take me hours to get another one. Hi. Trying to make us spend our blue mana here. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'd like to cast the other spell we have in our hand. pretty healthy. It's moderately tempting to throw a block in front of it to pick the flyer back up, but this is okay for the moment. Okay, Revenge of the Drowned is good here. And this looks like a decent turn to get the whole squad in. If he has, you know, some kind of trick in hand, we can like Revenge of the Drowned out of it. Like if he makes some kind of flash play or something. Otherwise, you know, this is our best opportunity to get both of the zombies in while he's got one unit on board and his other one being tapped. Cards of Plains. Why does this have text on it? Oh, is that from the D&D set? As you make camp near the ancient ruins, you hear the sounds echoing in halls where no dwarf has lived in generations. I don't know. I never got into that kind of thing. Like the D&D type things never did it for me. Whenever I played like World of Warcraft, I just skipped through all the quest text. It was just the World of Warcraft was like in two parts. It was like part one is getting your character to max level. Just do it as fast as possible. Cut me through all that as quickly as we can. And then I just wanted to play raids and PvP. I did not give a single shit about the plot. All right, where do we find ourselves here? He keeps highlighting this Famished Foragers like he's trying to do something with it, but I think we're good to just go to 9. Revenge of the Drowned doesn't seem, you know, too strong here. I could see an argument, though, for playing Startle, getting the zombie. I like this. I like this. No blocks. I want to Startle. We're only going to take 2 here. Well, I think he's thinking about doing something. You never. Okay, so if he's really out here thinking about it, let me stop and double check that he can't just blast us with the X spell. That would only be for 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. We're okay. But no, the idea with this now is, you know, say he taps out for, you know, the big midnight trample dude, whatever he's called, the big vampire. We have a win with the Revenge of the Drowned. So it looks like this isn't exactly where his cards line up, but I have some options there. Let's get rid of everything. Okay, so do we want to make a Revenge of the Drowned play? I'm not really excited about it. I think I want to just hit with the 2 flyers. And then next we could just add 2 more dudes to the board. I mean, he may realistically have just like picked up 2 lands here. Blazing Effigy, okay. Raise the Effigy, Blazing Effigy, all the same thing. And so it's like if this is our new angle, we don't actually want to play any of these cards. We just need to make sure that we don't die next turn. So we're going to look to Revenge of the Drowned something if he tries to get weird on us. Otherwise, we should be good in the skies. Okay. Zzz, you know these noise. If a spell would deal damage to you or another permanent you control, prevent it. Okay. And then if a spell would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 1. Okay. All good and well. 2 damage Neonate's Rush, huh? I think we're still okay. There's nothing for a single white mana that gets him out of this flyer attack. GG. Okay, interesting. Against red white, but they didn't seem to have any of the combos, right? We didn't see any Festival Crashers, which is my main reason for wanting to play Boros. You have like Festival Crasher, Angel Fire Ignition, Homestead Courage. Like it doesn't seem like he's doing that. I'm just going to expect this to be like probably has like some multiple Sacred Fires. He probably has Rim, which we saw. He probably has like the Boros Cavalier. Like just kind of like reading into the state of this event that we're in. Like if we're in round 1 and we're up against Boros and they play Beloved Beggar against you, you could probably expect the deck to be fairly weak. But I mean, this guy's managed to win like 3 or 4 matches, and so I think when Boros has made it this far, there's probably a bit of reasoning behind it. But even down here, I'm not going to want Jack-o'-lantern. Party captains, they don't feel particularly good against the cards we've seen out of this opponent. Don't think we want Cathar Commando. It's like I'm just kind of thinking, do I want to bring in the Silversmith to be kind of on this let's make our flyers good plan? And I think I'm okay with this. I don't think we need to go all in with like the party captains and take out the Gazes and take out the Lunarch Veteran. Like I actually like the Lunarch Veteran here, but we don't need to go like super deep on the cards we're adding in. I think our deck feels like it was just better than his, but something like Rim is going to be particularly troublesome for us to deal with, right? As we try to win the game with flyers, but all of our flyers are 2/2s. Opponent playing a 2/3 flyers, kind of a problem, but it's okay. We got a good curve here. Happy enough with this one. Sure. And this is kind of like this is what I was expecting to see, like the better cards starting to come out. But this was kind of one of the things that I suspected and saw with like these Boros decks is they tend to have just like a ton of burn, and they're able to just like ace all of your early game, but then they don't have any way to actually like close out the game from that point forward. It's a bit strange. Stormseeker's quite good here. Do not have an answer to this. He was a little greedy with it last game. I'm feeling, as I see this now, I'm feeling worse about not bringing in Homestead Courage. I think getting up to 3 attack is going to be pretty important against this deck. I think that's a bit of a mistake not bringing that in. Oh boy. when you stop and you reassess that statement that says, well, you see a Boros deck at this stage of the tournament and they just played a bunch of shitty cards, but they had to have something to get here. This is it. Alchemist, Stormseeker, Dualcraft Trainer, play with fire. We are just going to get nugged by the... Oh no, we put the double strike on the Stormseeker. Okay. Okay. So where does Startle fit in with this? I don't think it does. This is a Geist Wave turn. So let's get the Chaplain down. We can triple block the Dualcraft Trainer and then prevent damage with Geist Wave. This is ultimately scary when they have... This Thermo Alchemist is what's going to seal us. Like, we don't have a way to win the game fast enough. Even if he plays, like, no more card... No, he makes no more attacks for the rest of the game. I don't think we can outrace this Thermo Alchemist. Maybe we should have put down a block on the previous turn just to prevent, 4 damage. Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna let this get all the way to combat. We can still like combo break their dualcraft trainer ability. Oh no, we messed that up. Hang on. Okay. We needed to do that while the double strike was on the stack. Okay, we know more along the lines of what we're getting ourselves into now. I think we do need to kind of convert to the more aggressively oriented version of this deck. So we take out like the otherworldly gaze. I want the homestead courage in. These are all fine. I'm looking to take out morning patrols. I don't think these are going to be good here, and I want to bring in party captains. Maybe we want one Cathar commando and one party captain. Oh. Right, and this is kind of our best bet to deal with a bunch of 3 and 4 health units. The 3 health units being the big thing that we need to really be able to deal with here on the ground. I mean, I guess a lot of our units are just good at it by default, right? The Sun Gold Sentinel and Cathar Commando can both just kind of deal with it. We're only really looking at bait hook anglers now. So maybe we do this. Maybe like that was a little too greedy. We pull the Lunarch Veteran and add another morning patrol back in. Fine with Chaplain of Alms. Although he does seem much weaker when we aren't playing the otherworldly gazes. But I think that's okay. We have a bunch of 4-drops, but it's not as much as it looks like because of the party captain. Okay, I like that better. We have the kind of convert into big boy package. Yeah, a lot of those cards are seriously problematic. We don't have an answer to a dualcraft trainer, and so I think we need to just be out here and being aggressive. Looks good. Bunch of 3 attack units: the Commando, Archivist, Organ Hoarder. Thinking about that mulligan. It says I have all these high-powered uncommons in my hand, but no mana to cast them. Keeps. Alright, what's going to be the play? It's going to drop the Thermo Alchemist on us. Chaplain of Alms. Oh, jeez. That's annoying. I wonder which half here he just drew. Whether or not he just drew the Chaplain or if he just drew the Plains. Because I think he started out with Mountain. But the Archivist is our more aggressive unit here. I'm happy to add it to the board. The Beloved Beggar. Sure. Says I got the defensive draw this time. And beautiful. Perfect Silversmith. There will be a world where we can't deal with this Beloved Beggar, but I mean the flip side of him is a minimum 6 turns away. More than happy to just go ahead and get that thing off the board. Big boy plan activated. Okay, reasonable enough. All of our trades into that thing are fine. Assume he's gonna go commando. No, no underwear today. Alright, now we do have a real decision here. I think I want to add, like, the Falcon Abomination, play the Cathar Commando on their turn, and then maybe we, you know, pick up a Startle or something. Maybe we pick up a Geist Wave, and we're able to just slam everything in very aggressively. Okay. Purifying Dragon is on the scarier side of things. Those aren't Geist Waves. Ew, at least we don't have to draw those cards. Alright, so what happens? We attack. Say we attack with everything. He blocks Falcon Abomination with Dragon, which is fine. He's just going to kill it next turn. Say he blocks Cathar Commando with the Chaplain of Alms. And then he takes 8. We still have Archivist, Silversmith, and Organ Hoarder on the board. Then on his turn... So how much was that going to hit for? 8? He hits... start pointing at the screen. He takes down the Abomination and the Cathar. We have... Archivist, Silversmith, Organ Hoarder on the board, and he takes 8, falls to 4. I think this is okay. Should have played the land, though, so we could rep a Startle, but I don't think that's going to change what happens. He's going to put the Chaplain on Commando, he's going to put Purifying Dragon on Falcon Abomination. I mean, maybe he puts Purifying Dragon on Silversmith, so then he can still shoot down something else. I guess, ooh, I forgot Organ Hoarder's a zombie. That's problematic. I think we still need to be kind of all in like this. I think trying to get things like the Archivist and the Morning Patrol on board are what are going to let us win this game, but... I think the dragon is just too problematic. Like, if his turn next turn is whatever, like Morning Patrol, and he gets to attack with the dragon and kill one of our units, we don't have a good block on it. Like, all of that is just way too bad. Way too bad. Okay, it takes 8, falls to 4. Now, there is also a world where he just doesn't attack with this Purifying Dragon. Which gives us some more chances. I personally think the attack to kill a unit is better than sitting back to block, but I've been wrong before. Gotta pick up some interaction quick. Very quick. Yeah, I still think that's fine. Okay. Bounce spell. Alright, so the Archivist attack is still good. I think that's where we want to start. Well, the problem with attacking with the Archivist is we lose our Coven for the Sun Gold Sentinel. So we have a couple of options here. We have to assume that the Falcon Abomination is just gone at this point. So if it's just gone, how close can we get to just leveling up Sun Gold Sentinel? Then does he ever just block the Archivist with Generous Soul? I really feel like if we attack with the Archivist, he's just going to throw Chaplain of Alms in front of it. But it feels like Sun Gold Sentinel is our path to victory here. I'm going to play this one a little slow. I'm just going to add the Sentinel. Sure. I mean, I kind of feel like if he's had a removal at this point, he would have already played it. So I'm going to go ahead and add the Morning Patrol as well, assuming that he's going to pop off our Falcon Abomination. And so this hopefully gives us the means to, if we want to double up on the Sentinel next turn, we can. If he only has 2 white units, then we only have to spend a couple of mana, and we can win the game with like a Flare Faith or with a... we should be able to win the game with Flare Faith, win it with a Homestead Courage, or like a bounce spell. That I think we can do it with Revenge of the Drowned. Depends on what they have here, though. But I think the Sun Gold Sentinel is our best chance to victory here. Gets us for 8. Yep, can't block. This has been like the best Purifying Dragon 2021. It's usually a fairly weak card. It's tough to find the spots where they're any good. All right, I think we've just lost. Well, no, we can maybe we can maybe we can maybe. So I don't want to actually use the Sentinel here. I want him to do something that either kills off the Archivist or the Morning Patrol. Well, we don't have the mana to get 2 units on the board, though. We need them to do something dumb. Just a little bit short. Just needed a little bit more interactivity. I assume what's going to happen here is he's going to put his Chaplain of Alms in front of the Archivist, the Perforator in front of the Sentinel. Maybe take 2, but I mean, he has a good block with the Generous Soul. And then we just don't have a 2-power flyer that can block any of this stuff next turn. Damn. Well, we'll stop wasting the time. And so, yeah, I mean, that was close, but kind of is what it is. And so, yeah, we can get the deck pulled up and talk about it a little bit more. I feel like kind of my stance on this is the quality of opponent I've encountered in these draft challenges is quite low. And so I've had some people ask what I think of the draft challenge in comparison to other things. Quite low. I have played people here that I wouldn't be surprised if they were just like hanging out in silver. And so I think kind of my stance on this compared to premier drafts is, by all means go for it. If you, well, I should kind of rehash that. If you, what I would say like main limited, if you're a predominantly a limited player, I assume most people watching these videos are predominantly limited players, and you could push yourself into diamond, then the draft challenge is probably pretty high value for you. I would think if you're a diamond level player or mythic level player, you're able to navigate these drafts. I mean, the 3 wins is the break even, and the 5 wins starts getting you free drafts. If you have the gems to jump into these, it seems like a pretty high value. I really suspected that these were just going to be like higher quality, but I mean, I guess a 3,000 gem buy-in is just twice as much as a regular draft buy-in, and it's like what, like 20,000 gems or $100. So what is that? The buy-in would be like $15 for a draft, or like 30 for these. Is that what that works out to? That seems wrong. That seems like it's twice as much as it should be. But nonetheless, if you have the gems to do it, this seems like a pretty good value if you are a Diamond Plus level drafter. Maybe even if you're in Platinum, because I have ran into some really low quality people in here. And I thought it was going to be a little bit more high quality in the drafts. Like running in Premier drafts, I have real trouble and real issues assembling together Esper decks. Just we talk about it extensively in these videos in terms of um, you typically find yourself in like one Esper color and one red green color, and so you're trying to maximize those red and green because they're severely underdrafted in those other packs. But it really feels like in the draft challenge, Esper was wide open in both of these that we've done, and so I found that to be pretty strange and pretty weird. That I feel like the from a skill level standpoint, the draft challenges have been much lower than in the premier drafts. And I was expecting it to be a little different. I thought it was going to be in the drafts, the skill level and talent would be like much higher in these. And then as you kind of like spread out in the early games where you're just playing against people with the same number of wins, the quality would be lower and then it would pick up pretty quick. And I felt that the opponents throughout the board in these were probably not in diamond. And so, yeah, I mean, if you have the gems for it, go for it. I think this is a pretty decent deal. And the where that was all going to was like I was thinking about where I would expect this deck to go in a premier draft because our deck is not very good. It's like an 18 card disturb deck. We're missing just like a few cards to turn it into a real big powerhouse, right? We didn't hit any like powerhouse uncommons or powerhouse rares. I mean, the Dawn Gold Sentinel or whatever is pretty good, but it's by no means a card that you're upset to pass in your first pick. Like, if you really like drafting black and wanted to take Defense Straight over Sun Gold Sentinel, I wouldn't fault you for it. I don't think I'm the kind of person that would do that, but I could see an argument for taking Defense Straight over Sun Gold Sentinel and not being mad about it. Whereas we had games here where we're playing against Lisas and playing against the Dualcraft Trainer uncommon guy, and so our deck certainly didn't have the same power level as we did in the previous one. But yeah, I would expect this to be like a 3 or 4 winner in our Diamond Plus Premier drafts. I thought we might be able to take this to 6 just because it's a quality deck, but it doesn't really have the signatures that I would look at for it to be a real clear cut 6 and 7 winner. But yeah, we can get it pulled up real quick. Let's take a look at it on the site. Okay, so yeah, I'm not gonna fool with going through the draft. It's so awkward and weird that they don't actually have the draft thing on here. I'm gonna assume that is because Wizards just doesn't share the drafts for these events because Untapped GG seems to be pretty on the up and up with everything going on here, and so I find it to be very strange that the draft doesn't show up in the limited section, but kind of is what it is. But yeah, with this deck, I mean, it didn't have the big things that we would be looking for in this deck would be the Gale Drifter, the 4 mana 3/2 flyer with Disturb, and that's what gets us to this point to where we can like really pop off with the Otherworldly Gazes as well. And so, from like a Disturb deck standpoint, the way that we would want this to look is, we're not playing Soulgriff Guide. We'll play all the Organ Hoarders, but then we're going to have 2 or 3 of that 3/2 flyer, and then really look to take advantage of these otherworldly gazes, and so our late game gets really populated by these. But those just didn't show up at the portions of the draft where we would really want them, and so we kind of got stuck without one of the key cards in here. We saw them in the draft. We could have ended up taking them, but we typically went and took Falcon Abominations over that kind of thing. And so that's where this deck ends up being a little weak. We could have also gone for another bounce spell, another Geist Wave, or ideally another an Unsummon, but they didn't come together here. And so otherwise, I mean, this came together okay. It's got the classic problem with blue-white in terms of it can't deal with anything permanently. And so playing against the likes of the Dualcraft Trainers and the Lisa was quite scary for us to have to manage. But otherwise, I think this deck turned out reasonably well. It's still, I have a hard time ever liking these Lunarch veterans. Cathar Commando is not super ideal here. I think the ultimate problem with this deck and why I don't feel like it was a 6 or 7 winner is there's this kind of like gray area between where you're playing like the really big and heavy Disturb deck, and you probably have like, the blue-white uncommon or a Candleguard Castigator, whatever that 1/3 is called, and you have great ways to deal with all the loots, and you have like your shipwreck sifters and your otherworldly gazes, like that big cycle of cards. We got like 75% of that. And then there's a slightly different blue-white deck to where you're trying to play Candlegrove Witches and then all of the various flyers, and so you might have this curve to where you're playing Candlegrove Witch into Falcon Abomination into Gale Drifter into like Soulgrift Guide or something, and then you're looking to lock up the ground with the likes of the Horned Turtles. We didn't quite get that deck to get together either, and so this kind of feels like a 75%er into both of those decks. It just has some of the overlap, but it doesn't have the things that turn it into a big powerhouse. But for a lot of that, we didn't even see. Like, I don't remember seeing the Candlegrove Witches. We tried to table the blue-white uncommon, and it didn't happen. Just a few things didn't go quite right that takes your deck from being, an average break-even into a big winner. But yeah, that's going to do it. I think we get some amount of packs for our efforts there. 10? All right, it's 10. So what do we got? 7 draft tokens. Oh, so we did end up on the positive end on this. We got 4 from yesterday and then 3 today. Okay, cool. So yeah, I take back any saltiness I may have looked like I had there, because I thought we were just break even on the tokens, and then we picked up an extra pack, or just the packs. Like the packs are. Oh, that was our misplay of the day. We missed clicking on the open 10. Now we got to click on all of these. But the packs are just like all gems now, and so it's not as interesting. I think we counted in the previous video, and we still had 15 mythics to go. So I wasn't sure if we would ever fully complete the set. There's a mythic. What up, Teferi? I mean, we might, but then I also don't remember if whenever double feature or whatever the other set is, once that comes out, if it's like two packs of double feature, 1 pack of this, or how that goes these days. I grew up in the times when the limited formats were across blocks, and so I don't know if they're still doing the block thing or not. Alrighty, well, got 2 mythics out of 10 packs. Not a bad deal. Getting some wild cards. Oh, 3 mythics. I wonder if does the open rate go up on these as you finish out the collection? Seems like we're really tearing through these mythics. And then a wild card here at the end. We got one of these vault things. Yeah, I mean, we got 27 rare wild cards and 11 mythic rare. This is starting to feel more and more like Runeterra, as to where in Runeterra it was like we had 250,000 dust and never crafted anything because we just played limited all the time. It's like, as I've kind of moved away from being like, let's see how easily we can try to like free to play grind this, and just being like, well, limited is where it's at. Start just stacking up all of the wild cards. Nonetheless, that's going to do it for us today. Hope you weren't too disturbed by the run. Maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.